Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the session. And sorry for the technical issues that we had. So we will continue as per the schedule with the panel discussion now. And after this panel discussion, we will have the presentation with Sabine. So at 12:30. So let me welcome you first, our speaker. So we have Sabine, whom I introduced you a few minutes back, but I'll introduce again. Sabine is working with Novartis for over 25 years. She started research as postdoc and now is global program director for Novartis Malaria portfolio. Elvira, the next speaker, Elvira is executive consultant and coach with Syngenta Foundation for Sustainability Agriculture. She is linking strategy to the investment, building the portfolio in the non-profit context, establishing a portfolio office and supporting the change journey. And our third speaker in the panel, Martine. She can be called an experienced drug developer after 3 decades of in pharmaceutical industry, having been proudly part directly or through her teams of the progression of more than 200 molecules with a good number benefiting patients and hitting the market successfully. She worked with Baxter, Nestle, Roche, and AstraZeneca mainly, but not solely, in regulatory affairs and project portfolio leadership from research to life cycle. She is currently head of project management at VectivBio, a rare disease biotech in Basel that is on the edge of starting phase 3 in short bowel syndrome. With this, let me move straight to the panel discussion, which is about about prioritization and decision making in the environment of continuous change. So we have several questions. So with that, we will start with the first question of the panel. How is an agile approach impacting portfolio prioritization and decision making in your company? Elvira, maybe you would like to start.
So exactly to that point, and probably those who heard me talking yesterday, I'm really passionate about agile. And one very practical, pragmatic thing I did introduce is that we have this 1 year big cycle for portfolio prioritization, where we bring the portfolio in line with budget, synchronized to the budget cycle. But then on top of that, we have now 12 small portfolio prioritization and optimization cycles where we manage the difference on a monthly basis. That's our pragmatic, direct response to portfolio. Before, we only had the process once a year.
Martine, if you can continue your points on that.
I'm in a slightly different situation because I work in a small biotech company, and our portfolio equals 1 molecule with maybe 2 indications. So I think doing portfolio prioritization is not really the topic we have. But if you look down, then not in the portfolio, but what you do in the project, I think for us, a regular view on what we do and how we do it, aligned with the cash flow and the budget we have, is something which is in our DNA. So I think if you speak about agile and revise your targets, I think that's something which is included in our project team and leadership team meeting on each meeting, because that's our bread and butter business.
Excellent. Yeah. Sabine, would you like to share your ideas on this?
Yeah, I think overall, it's going faster and faster, and we need more rapid assessment and decision making, and basically then getting feedback and learnings as we go, as I think this helped us to make better decisions, I think, overall. But overall, I think it's tough, especially in this innovative industry, to make no-go or go slow decisions. Everybody wants to move his project forward. And all the projects teams are quite engaged, and you don't want to demotivate them. So I think to have to acknowledge that fact as well, and provide also a transparent system that people are, let's say, getting not so demotivating, so getting really, let's say, more understanding why certain priorities need to be made. And and really involve people here, and having this feedback loop quite established.
Thank you, Sabine. And yeah, absolutely agree with your responses. Let me move straight to the next question, because we have a lot of questions. So how are digital tools, and what digital tools impacting portfolio prioritization and decision making are used in your company? Martine, if you want to start this time. Sorry, you're on mute, Martine.
Right. There was a tram noise outside, so I didn't want you that you have Basel coming through the Okay, good. Now to come back to the digital tools, I think, yeah, everywhere. I think how and how often, that's a question. I think we changed dramatically the way we are working on the daily business. I think the conference is one example. I think we exchange information using all the platforms we have, because we cannot exchange otherwise. And if you speak about clinical trials, I think here we had to change quick, fast, to at least be able to do site initiation visits, leveraging tools. So I think if you look into my IT department, which was a kind of nerdy in the basement, I think these guys are now in the spotlight, and we ask them every day of tips of what we can use. We ask them to train our people. So I think they have to change themselves quite a lot to be better communicator, if you know the profile. I mean. So I think it's everywhere for me, and it's really making the IT folks different in the company, and the way they behave and the way you work completely different. So we are able to be performing.
Thank you, Martine. Sabine, would you like to add your ideas?
Yeah, so we do apply a number of analytical methodologies and tools. So we have different ways of evaluating the value of projects. So from NPV, ENPV, option valuation, etc. So and then we have also different ways to run different scenarios with Monte Carlo simulation and certain things. So we are using that. And I think another important point is the visualization. So different ways to display portfolio trade-offs to make. So risk versus reward, returns over different time horizons, or let's say tornado charts of investment versus return. So we do have that, or return on capital. So these are, let's say, these tools which are, I think, primarily more frequently being used. I think, but this is really on the portfolio level. But I think then what Martine mentioned, I think on the clinical trial level and study level, I think we do have also a number of digital tools coming up. So seeing the study, let's say, site initiations, the recruitment online, basically daily, and having, let's say, those data available, it's more and more frequent, and helps us also to monitor things and making also decisions in between to adapt maybe also certain actions here. Maybe
Great,
handing over
you.
to Elvira.
Elvira, yeah.
I can't
Elvira,
hear you.
I could almost jump to the next question already, if I may, because the next question is a fantastic link to this one, because it talks about the human side of things. And it fits so nicely with what you have said, Sabine, because you are alluding on all the mathematical, analytical, more science-driven or more logical-driven decision-making methodologies. And the next question we had here is, okay, how do you deal with people? And to a certain extent, my answer to that would then be, okay, and yes, there are also the people. And in my past, I have to say, I had sub-portfolios where I had almost to give up on the scientific methods because the underlying data were never good enough to be credible. And I think I am at a bigger appreciation now that I was 10 years ago on how much the human side of things, believing in the result, and also in allowing expertise and allowing leadership to own the decision is also part of the decision-making methodology. So for a while, I did live in situations where we did all the analytics. So Mr. Spock did all the good things, and then Captain Kirk came along and took a completely different route. Sometimes that was also the right thing to do. So I think a key learning from that for me was that people working in the portfolio space really have to embrace that if mathematical models override the decision makers' belief, then you have a difficult time in the execution, and people will find ways to ensure that their opinion is heard.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Elvira. And this is one of the problems I faced with one of the clients very recently, where I've been coaching and mentoring the project directors and the middle management. And a few of them were so demotivated. They said, yeah, everything is okay, but the big boss already knows which project he wants to launch. So why should we spend all this time? Why should I do all this analysis? Why should I make my my demand management and analyze all the demands in the in the portfolio if it is already decided by the big boss? And I think that what you say is really important. Sabine,
and just let me quickly add, at one point I made that very transparent, and I wasn't the star when I did that.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sabine, over to you.
Quickly responding to your your comment.
Yeah.
When I made exactly that, what you said, transparent, I admitted it and I stopped pretending. Then for a while, I wasn't really, how to say, the most liked person. But I think it helped us tremendously to be more candid about what is really going on and then merge Mr. Spock's views with what Captain Kirk thought was important. And I think that was a really good way to success.
Yeah, I've actually experienced also the other way that, let's say, from the team side, they try, let's say, to communicate primarily good news. So really not having visibility on the long-term implication of certain decisions we need to make, or not having a good view of the risk of certain decisions, because you would need also to expect also from the team, if they present that, to outline these things or have inherent conscious and unconscious bias of the people, as we said before, involved in the making the decision. So what we try here, or what also, I'm looking always to have, is an increased diversity of our decision maker, or let's say also an increased diversity of people contributing, and actively really, as you said, Elvira, encourage a psychologically safe environment where dissenting opinions and actively solidarizing and encourage that they can speak up and they can be open and should put things really on the table. And I think to create that culture. Otherwise, I think it's difficult. Yeah. And also acknowledge the potential for bias and reflect on past decision.
That Sabine, that like diversity has been a can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes you are a bit kind of
okay.
Okay.
So
not yourself, but your voice, of course.
Yeah. So I was saying that like we have a lot of organizations have been talking a lot about diversity, but actually it's not just diversity that will help you. You might have people from different countries and different departments, but they might be very same. They might be behaving very same. I have seen people from Brazil who are very much time oriented and very much like I would culturally I would see them very close to Germans, and this happens, and there are people. So actually what you should be really looking about diversity is cognitive diversity. So are they having different patterns of thinking? Are they bringing different ways of work and different worldviews? And that will really help. Martine, if you want to add something to our human side.
Yes, absolutely. I think I fully endorse what Elvira said, that I think we need to put people at the center, and you have to put it in two ways. On one hand, you have to understand your macrocosmos, which is what is the culture of your organization, who makes decision when, are decisions made where they should be, or in the corridor, or in the toilet, or whatever. And then, of course, understand. I am a big fan of Daniel Kahneman's book, where you have think fast, think slow. You have multiple elements which is coming from our own history as human being, which drives the way we take decisions, which are far from being rational. I think the data is one anchor point. The role of the data, how you display it, how you make it understandable. I think that's one part of our shop. I think that doesn't go away if you look into the other factor. But the other factor might be equally important, is the trust the organization has in you, in your group, on your individuals, a kind of halo effect. The bias your stakeholder might have towards certain things. The information hunger they have. Some people might not listen to a presentation, but might listen to a 2-minute conversation. Well, that's the importance of an elevator speech. Sorry. So I think there is no easy answer to say how to include the human factor, but I think it has to be as much effort to prepare for your macrocosmos, for the humanity in your organization, as you do in the data. And I think the way to do it smartly, it's a kind of Machiavelli, influencing without being too much of a politician. I think that's the right balance to find, to make the organization do the right decision. And I just want to build on Sabine's comment. I think what you need to do as project leader, manager, or DTA, or portfolio leader is that within your own organization, what you have in control, you create a safe harbor so that opinions can be expressed, discussion can take place, and you can be challenged. And I think that's, for me, the most important thing, the thing you can directly influence. If you create a safe harbor where people feel heard, I think you're already nearer to the right way to approach a decision.
Yeah, and also to allow people to make failure. So being really bold sometimes and bringing up new ideas and new suggestions, even it's maybe, let's say, at the end, I think it turned out not to be the right, but nobody knows that at the beginning. So allowing also this culture.
Yeah, there's a nice sentence from somebody saying, if we would know what we are doing, we wouldn't be in research. Yeah. Because I think we are working with the unknown definition, and I think working with the unknown is the most grateful thing, because that's where you make science progress. But of course, then you have to be humble and say it's a try and error business, and we have to be able to do try and error.
Absolutely. And I really like this idea of having a trial and error business. And we have Beat who is commenting that you cannot learn without making mistakes. And that's what he tells his kids. And I guess, yes, it's so true. Let's move to the next question, which is what are some of the biggest impediments to governance decision making, and what recommendations do you have to overcome them? Sabine, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think it's a bit what I said before. So having not really visibility on the long-term implication of decision. I think that's something what from our point of view needs to be there, and not having a good view. Also, let's say really on the risks and of certain decisions. And also, the other point would be to have inherent conscious and unconscious bias of people involved in the decision making. And and that's what also we said before, is to have the psychologically safe environment where you can really allow that these, let's say, ideas and decision, or the proposals are coming up really openly. On the other hand, what I think coming to a later point is also all the risk management. I think we are talking about a lot about risk management, but what I've seen is that this is sometimes delegated to a junior associate in a team, just as a somehow tick box exercise. So I think that's to take that to a different level and allow really a discussion and review and talk through implication of risk assessment, and really not every nitty-gritty detail, but really the main ones, and look also then not only at the problems, but also potential mitigations. I think this is something what I think needs to be done even more, I think probably in all organizations.
Thank you. Martine, if you wish to...
Yeah, I think I endorse everything Sabine said, and if you speak about impediment, I think one thing I faced sometimes is the belief in the digitals. Or put it that way, maybe explain it better that way. Sometimes, because we have the mathematical tools to present things with a very sharp precision, I think we tend to forget that the environment we are working are not giving us that precision. So if you said we have a PTS chance of 0.5796, whatever, I think the reality is we have a swing factor of 30, 40, 50%. So I think in addition to the risk and all the tools we are using, I think we should have a reality check saying how much precision we can calculate and how much precision is in the real world. So and go back to what is that precision, and if you speak about risk magnitude, what is the likelihood to the risk, how can it happen, and how can we mitigate? So go back to what you can control, but not what you can calculate. And sometimes I have seen in governance meetings people fighting about the 6 digital, saying if I calculate my way, that gives you a little bit on that edge, while the problem is so big that none of these is relevant. It might be called common sense, but I think for me that's something, a temptation we have, because we can do that. We can do that kind of precision.
Thank you, Martine. Elvira, would you like to add something to what has been said?
So I would like to talk to a completely different point. My biggest impediment to good decision making is that people seem to be very confused about their role in decision making, and we don't make that explicit and clear enough. for those of you on the call who want to have a look, I am very intrigued by a model that was published by Bain and Company. It's called the RAPID model, ARPID, that explains the roles in decision maker. The recommender, the person gives the input, the person that makes the final decision. What else is it? I forgot the other acronym. You can look it up. I love it. Because what I see sometimes going wrong in decision making is when everybody under the sun assembles and believes they are a decision maker, while their role is either to recommend or they have a veto right, so they can really approve it. Maybe they are just an inputter, and we need to listen to them, but we will not we are not really, in a way, obliged to take their bid on. And I had great success when I was able to clarify those roles with people. Some were a bit embarrassed when they had to learn that they are not a decision maker. And my key learning from this RAPID model was that you are only a decision maker if you can commit an organization or people to action. All the other roles are equally important. Nobody to be embarrassed if they play a different role, because all of these roles are required for good decision making.
Thank you, Elvira. I think that's absolutely to the point. I don't know if so much people joining the conference, but when Roche and Genentech merged, I think there was one mantra at each meeting we had. The first question in each meeting was, who is the decision maker? So even before you could breathe and start to push the go button on the PowerPoint presentation, for a long time, the first question was, who in the room makes a decision? And that person signs off and finished. Not sure the discipline faded away maybe over time, but at least for a couple of years, that was the first question.
Yeah. Maybe to build on this, from another perspective, I think we often have huge data set available. And I think we have a lot of, let's say, information, but sometimes we don't aggregate it well, and we don't develop or make use of the tools to help to analyze and visualize that for us for decision making, I think, on the other hand. So bringing different perspectives in, and also not underestimate the pre-work, which is needed to ensure a robust, open, and honest decision-making and portfolio management discussion and prioritization discussion.
Bain and Company would completely agree to you, because they did a little bit of research and said that 80% of the success of the decision is the pre-work, is the role of the recommender is the most important, and not of the decision maker, interestingly enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
absolutely fantastic. So the time is running, and we still have a few questions. So what I'll do is I'll select one last question so that we can move to the presentation of Sabine. So in the area of risk management, which processes and methodologies work well and which do not for you? Martine, would you like to start this time?
Yeah. I come back to what Sabine said. I think when it works well, when we have somebody who is engaged and knowledgeable enough to talk about risk, and it's not a tick box exercise. So I think I wouldn't speak about any methodology. I would speak about credibility and also how serious the topic is taken. I would say if your organization wants to do that because it's a file and for a compliance reason you have it in the back, you can put any process on top. I think you will always end up in a tick box exercise with a degree of sophistication, which might make a lot of people busy. But I think the process which I think was, in my experience, successful is the first question. what kind of risk process and risk culture you want to have in the organization, and have people who can speak and make that credible, and then you have a good discussion.
Yeah, and just to add to this, also for the risk management, to have an oversight and responsibility, really also from senior management as well as from people with a lot of experience, to have really a smarter risk management, so that you have really different perspectives in, and again the pre-work, yeah, isn't it? It's always what's important.
Great. Elvira, would you like to add something to it?
No, not really. I think we are done.
Oh, okay, great. So we still have a few questions. What I suggest is that we can take it at the post-session Q&A at the end of the day, where we'll have all the speakers of the day too. So we had a fantastic panel discussion. We talked about scenario analysis, visualization with tools. We talked about creating safe spaces with people. We want to work with trial and error. We want to give teams the long-term aspect of the decisions and the impact of the decisions, which they miss a lot of times, and bring the humanity to the portfolio, use rapid decision-making model, and do the pre-work in risk management. So thank you, Elvira, Sabine, and Martine. And we'll go quickly backstage, and we'll be back in a minute with Sabine's presentation.
Thank you, Mika.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hallo.
Hallo, jetzt sind wir wieder backstage. Wir müssen uns mal treffen, oder? Wir leben ja beide hier in Basel, in der Basel Area.
Sehr, sehr gerne, ja.